Before diving into the video, did you know that over 80% of you watching right now aren't subscribed? Your one like and one subscribe means the absolute world to this channel and helps us keep going. Hit those buttons real quick and let's get into the video. Chapter 1. The Memorial Text. I'm alive and perfectly well. So how did I suddenly become the dead ex? My toxic ex-girlfriend could never get over. Not only did she call off her wedding, she turned the ceremony into a memorial service for me on the spot, and even declared that she would remain a widow for the rest of her life. And it all started with a single message from my wife. Back then, I spent 7 years helping my ex-girlfriend build her business from nothing. Yet on the eve of our wedding, she cheated on me. Utterly disappointed, I ended our relationship. 3 years later, she contacted me again, only to invite me to her wedding. At the time, I was on my honeymoon by the sea with my wife. My wife snatched my phone, read the message, and let out a silent, cold laugh. Then she replied, "I'm sorry, but he can't make it. Ethan passed away from cancer last month. His body has already been cremated." I was speechless. Ignoring my expression, my wife continued typing. "You were the only woman my brother ever loved. Please allow me to offer you his blessing on his behalf. Congratulations on your wedding. I found a bank card among my brother's belongings. It contains the wedding fund the two of you saved together. Consider it his wedding gift to you. Before he passed away, my brother said his greatest regret in life was never getting to marry you, but he will always love you, and he hopes you will be happy forever." After finishing her dramatic masterpiece, my wife tossed the phone back to me. When I saw what she had written, my jaw nearly hit the floor. Chloe frowned and let out a cold snort. "What? Are you upset because I lied to her?" I shook my head helplessly. "No. But haven't you noticed that everything you wrote sounds like you're cursing me? Cancer, cremation, dying because I couldn't be with the woman I loved. Did you really have to make my death so miserable?" Chloe finally realized what she had done and immediately looked a little guilty. "Should I unsend it?" I put my phone away. "Forget it. It doesn't matter. Had it not been for that message, I would have almost forgotten Vanessa even existed. After all, our breakup had been anything but pleasant. Vanessa and I had been together for 7 years. We went from college students to successfully building a company together. I thought we would eventually walk down the aisle, but on an otherwise ordinary day, I found proof that Vanessa was cheating on me. Devastated, I confronted her. All I got in return was a single, indifferent word: "I got bored." Only later did I learn that the man she had cheated with was her first love from her youth. As for me, I had merely been a convenient stand-in, a distraction she used to fill the void left by the man she could never have. I was completely disillusioned. I didn't argue or cling to her. I simply ended the relationship. We had not seen each other since. I had no idea what Vanessa hoped to accomplish by sending me that invitation today. Was she trying to show off, or did she simply want to get under my skin? But none of it mattered anymore. Whether it was love or hatred, 3 years was more than enough time to wash it all away. I became lost in thought and unconsciously let out a sigh. Chloe assumed I was still angry about what she had done. She poked my wrist. "Hey, don't be mad. I'll apologize to her." "What?" I snapped out of my thoughts. "Apologize for what?" Chloe glanced at my phone. Realizing what she meant, I smiled. "It's really fine." Chloe still didn't believe me. "Then why do you look so upset?" "It has nothing to do with you. I was just remembering something unpleasant." "Oh," Chloe replied. Right in front of her, I blocked Vanessa and deleted her contact information. I forgot to do it before. Chloe blinked, but she still looked a little uneasy, so I teased her to change the subject. "You were in such a hurry to grab my phone just now. Don't tell me you were afraid I'd actually attend the wedding because you were jealous?" "Bah, who's jealous?" Chloe finally returned to her usual lively self. She sprang to her feet and snapped, "Ethan, you narcissist." Then she turned and headed toward our beach house. Chloe walked across the sand, her feet sinking unevenly with every step. Under the setting sun, the tips of her pale ears were strikingly red. Secretly delighted, I followed her back in an excellent mood. Chapter 2. Echoes of the Past. After showering, I stepped out of the bathroom. Chloe was already lying in bed with her back to me. I dried my hair and lay down on the other side of the king-size bed. There was enough space between us to fit an entire convenience store. Chloe and I had entered into a marriage arranged by our families, but that didn't mean there had been no emotional connection between us at all. 3 years ago, after breaking up with Vanessa, I spent a long time wallowing in misery. My parents had never approved of my relationship with Vanessa. They said she had never truly loved me, but I refused to believe them. I stayed by Vanessa's side for 7 years, helping her build her business from the ground up and giving her everything I had. In the end, I still lost everything. To take my mind off the breakup, my parents introduced me to the daughter of an old family friend. Our families were doing business together at the time, so it would have been awkward to refuse. I agreed to meet her. Chloe was a very cool, straightforward woman. The first time we met, she immediately told me that her parents had forced her to come and that she had no interest in me. I told her I understood, and then I told her everything that had happened between Vanessa and me. Chloe expressed her deepest sympathy. As a result, spending time together turned out to be unexpectedly easy and enjoyable. After meeting her several more times, I discovered that Chloe was full of wild and imaginative ideas. Following her around on her spontaneous adventures was incredibly entertaining. Little by little, I forgot about my painful history with Vanessa. So when my parents suggested that Chloe and I get married, I agreed without much hesitation. The wedding took place as planned. To be honest, I had never quite understood how Chloe truly felt. Had her parents forced her to marry me, or had she agreed willingly? It wasn't until today, when she snatched my phone and angrily replied to Vanessa, that I finally became somewhat certain she must have married me willingly. The soft rustling of fabric sounded beside me. Chloe turned over to face me. In the faint light, I looked into her eyes and asked, "What's wrong?" Chloe paused before saying my name. "Ethan, we're married." "Yeah. So no matter what happens, you're not allowed to cheat on me. Otherwise, I swear I'll make you regret it." I froze. Before I could respond, Chloe rolled over again and turned her back to me. I watched her curl herself into a ball and realized that Vanessa's message was still bothering her. Something stirred in my heart. I moved closer, wrapped my arms around her from behind, and said, "I know. I won't." We had almost never been this physically intimate before. Chloe's body stiffened for a moment, but she soon relaxed. She said nothing, though her breathing gradually became much calmer. That night, we fell asleep in each other's arms. Chapter 3. The Aftermath. The next morning, before dawn, my phone began vibrating nonstop. I jolted awake, glanced at Chloe, who was still sleeping, then quietly got out of bed and slipped out of the room. "Hello." I answered impatiently. The moment Mark heard my voice, he let out a sigh of relief. "Ethan, I knew you weren't dead." I had no idea what he was talking about. Before I could ask, Mark launched into a long explanation. Apparently, Vanessa had completely lost it. Not only had she destroyed the half-finished wedding venue, but she had also gone around telling everyone that I was dead. She was frantically trying to find out where my ashes had been buried. You should have seen her. She looked absolutely devastated. For a second, even I thought something had really happened to you, so I called to make sure. Mark clicked his tongue in amazement. Then he asked me what the hell was going on. I told him what had happened yesterday and sent him a screenshot of Chloe's reply. After reading it, Mark exclaimed, "Holy shit, that was savage. She didn't just break Vanessa's heart, she completely destroyed her. No wonder Vanessa went insane. If that happened to me, I'd regret it for the rest of my life." I didn't respond. What I couldn't understand was why Vanessa had reacted so strongly. She had abandoned me without the slightest hesitation back then. Now that she had heard the news of my death, why was she suddenly pretending to be so deeply in love? I could still vaguely remember the look in her eyes when she told me she was bored with me, cold and disgusted, as though I were some filthy thing clinging to her that she couldn't wait to scrape off. After our breakup, I had carefully thought back on our relationship. Vanessa had always treated me with indifference. Late birthday wishes, forgotten anniversaries, and every time I got sick, she only remembered to ask how I was feeling after I had already recovered. There had been countless moments like that, but I hadn't thought much of them at the time. After all, she treated everyone else the same way. I had assumed she was simply distant by nature. That was until I saw her with a man she truly loved. Her eyes curved whenever she smiled, and the tenderness and affection in them seemed ready to spill over. That was when I finally understood. Vanessa wasn't naturally cold, she simply had never cared about me. And in that moment, I truly let her go. "Ethan, what are you thinking?" "What do you mean?" Mark sounded anxious. "I mean, Vanessa, you still had her contact information saved. Don't tell me you still have feelings for her." He didn't finish the sentence, but I understood. "You're overthinking it." The fact that I hadn't deleted Vanessa's contact information was purely an accident. The account I was using now was one of my many secondary accounts. My main account had become unusable because it was flooded with too many messages. The contacts on this account were a complete mess, and I had never bothered sorting through them. I hadn't expected Vanessa to be among them, but it wasn't that surprising. Back then, I had nearly 800 alternate accounts to make sure I never missed a single message from Vanessa. I had added her on every one of them. When Mark heard the explanation, he finally relaxed. Before hanging up, he hesitated. What should we do if Vanessa asks us about you? Don't hide anything. Whether I was dead or alive was easy enough to verify. Besides, there was nothing to hide. It wasn't like I had done anything shameful. Chapter 4. Confrontation at the airport. Our honeymoon soon came to an end. Chloe and I had traveled to many places together, and our relationship deepened rapidly. Then Chloe was suddenly called away on a business trip to France, so we parted ways at the airport. I'll come find you as soon as I'm done. After saying that, she quickly kissed me on the cheek, then immediately turned and hurried toward the gate with her assistant. I stood there grinning foolishly as I touched my cheek. Then I boarded my flight home. After landing, I left through the VIP passage. The driver who was supposed to be waiting outside was nowhere to be seen. Instead, a row of black cars stood there. Vanessa was watching me from a short distance away. After 3 years apart, her appearance hadn't changed much, but she seemed calmer and more reserved than before. At that moment, however, her eyes were bloodshot as she stared at me intensely. She looked as though she wanted to tear me limb from limb, yet there was also a complicated joy in her gaze, as if she had recovered something she had thought was lost forever. I glanced at her once, then looked away as I tried to contact my driver. I walked straight past her. The driver wasn't answering his phone. I was already getting irritated when Vanessa suddenly grabbed my sleeve. "Ethan, you got what you wanted." I stopped and turned to look at her with a frown, having no idea what she meant by that out-of-nowhere accusation. I said nothing and tried to pull my sleeve free, but Vanessa tightened her grip. Her eyes were red. Seeming to understand my confusion, she twisted her face bitterly. "Those messages you sent, you did it to get revenge on me, didn't you? Well, congratulations, you succeeded. I haven't slept properly for days because I thought you were dead. I even destroyed my own wedding with my bare hands. Are you satisfied now?" My frown deepened as she spoke, but I waited until she finished before replying. "You're overthinking it. I wasn't trying to get revenge on you. Those messages were an accident." Vanessa clearly didn't believe me. What kind of accident involves typing out that much? It has nothing to do with you. I had no desire to explain myself, so I turned to leave. Vanessa's expression hardened, and she ordered her men to drag me into one of the cars. That made me furious. I broke free and shouted, "Vanessa, what the hell are you doing?" Vanessa looked at me with a cold smile. "Isn't this exactly what you wanted? You ruined my wedding because you wanted us to get back together, didn't you?" Holy shit, I was stunned by how delusional she was. How had I never noticed before that she was such a narcissist? After a moment, I took a deep breath and looked at her. "Vanessa, you really are imagining things. First, you were the one who contacted me. Second, I already explained that those messages were sent by accident. Third, I'm married now, and I'm no longer interested in you." For a moment, Vanessa's expression went completely blank. She stared at me in disbelief. "You're married?" Before I could answer, she suddenly seized my shoulders, her manicured nails digging painfully into my skin. I removed her hands, my expression calm. "Why would I need to lie to you? Because you wanted to ruin my wedding to Julian." Chapter 5. The Ghost of First Love. Julian was the man Vanessa had truly loved all along. They had grown up as childhood friends and next-door neighbors. Julian was 1 year older than her, and Vanessa had secretly loved him from an early age. After graduating from high school, she decided to confess her feelings, only to discover that Julian already had a girlfriend. She had no choice but to give up. Even so, she followed Julian to the same university. There, she watched helplessly as he and his girlfriend enjoyed a loving relationship. It caused her unbearable pain, but there was nothing she could do. That was when I appeared. For me, it was practically love at first sight. Vanessa was exceptionally beautiful and academically gifted. Her only flaw was her cold, distant personality. Because of that, she was always alone at school and usually went everywhere by herself. Once, I happened to see her feeding the stray cats on campus and talking to them as though they could understand her. It was completely different from her usual aloof demeanor. She looked kind of adorable. The moment that thought crossed my mind, I knew I was done for. I didn't hesitate or play games. I immediately began pursuing her. At first, Vanessa refused to accept me. It was as though she were surrounded by an impenetrable wall of glass, leaving me no chance to get close. Then one day, there was a torrential downpour. Vanessa hadn't brought an umbrella and was stranded in the library. Just as I arrived to find her, a deafening clap of thunder exploded overhead. Vanessa screamed and curled into a ball, drawing the attention of everyone nearby. It was the first time I had ever seen her so frightened and vulnerable. Without thinking, I rushed over and wrapped my arms around her. Then I took her somewhere quiet so she could calm down. Once she had recovered, Vanessa told me she was terrified of thunder. After that day, we somehow became much closer. Vanessa even began asking me out herself. I was ecstatic and never stopped to question why. It wasn't until after our breakup that I finally learned the truth. Vanessa's mother had been unable to cope with her husband's infidelity. On a stormy night, she took her own life, and Vanessa was the one who found her. Julian had rushed in and covered Vanessa's eyes. What happened in the library that day had reminded her of Julian. She had seen his shadow in me. That was the real reason she had agreed to date me. I had been Julian's damn substitute all along. The car sped down the road. Vanessa's words surprised me for a moment, but I quickly regained my composure. I looked at her calmly. I never intended to ruin your wedding. If those messages caused you trouble, then I apologize. Yet instead of accepting my apology, Vanessa's expression grew even darker. Ethan, do you really not care that I'm getting married? I don't. She stared into my eyes. There was no forced indifference or pretense in them. Every word I said was true. Vanessa's expression darkened. After a brief silence, she asked, "What if I regret it?" I frowned slightly. She continued, "What if I told you that I don't actually want to marry Julian? That I misunderstood my feelings for him and mistook gratitude for love? That I regret breaking up with you now? Would you?" She didn't finish the question, but I understood what she meant. My expression remained unchanged. I felt neither disgust nor happiness. No. My answer was firm and final. Vanessa's expression shifted, and she looked deeply hurt. Still unwilling to give up, she asked, "Are you really married?" I nodded. She asked again, "And did you marry her willingly?" I nodded once more. Vanessa lowered her head and clenched her hands tightly. I couldn't see her expression, nor did I care to find out. Vanessa and I had ended a long time ago. Whatever she thought or felt had nothing to do with me anymore. I checked the time and pointed toward the intersection ahead. "I'll get out there." Vanessa said nothing, but when we reached the intersection, she told the driver to stop. I hailed a taxi by the side of the road. Even as I left, I could still feel Vanessa's gaze fixed on my back. Chapter 6. Setting Boundaries. Chloe returned a week later. The moment she walked through the door, she threw her arms around me. We kissed naturally, both of us filled with the joy of reuniting after a brief separation. Only after a moment did Chloe seem to realize what she had done and become a little shy. She cleared her throat. "Guess who I just saw?" "Who?" "Vanessa." My movements paused, and I turned to look at her. Chloe gave me a teasing look. "She's downstairs. Don't you think you owe me an explanation?" I smiled and led her over to the sofa by the hand. I really admired Chloe's personality. Whenever something bothered her, she addressed it directly instead of bottling it up. That saved us from a great deal of misunderstanding and suspicion. I told her what had happened at the airport. Chloe rubbed her chin thoughtfully. "It looks like Vanessa still has feelings for you." I raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. "Why aren't you reacting?" Chloe asked. "How am I supposed to react?" Chloe couldn't come up with an answer. She lay down with her head resting on my lap. "Whatever. As long as she doesn't interfere with our lives, I don't care." I wrapped my arms around her and murmured, "Yeah." Chloe hadn't rested properly during the flight. After a quick wash, she went into the bedroom to sleep. I waited until she had fallen asleep before walking into the living room. Looking down through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I saw countless cars below, tiny as ants and impossible to distinguish from one another. I took out my phone and dialed a number. The call connected quickly, but no one spoke. My voice turned cold. "Vanessa, I know you're listening. I don't know what you're trying to do, but stay out of my life. More importantly, do not appear in front of my wife and give her any reason to misunderstand. Consider this both a request and a warning." Vanessa still said nothing, but I could hear her breathing slightly faster on the other end. I didn't say anything else and ended the call. I glanced toward the bedroom, and my expression softened. The reason I had treated Vanessa with such indifference before was simply that she was no longer worth any emotional reaction from me. Whether it was her ridiculous claims or her outrageous behavior, I had viewed it all as nothing more than a performance. But I would not allow her to disrupt my life, especially not when it came to Chloe. Chapter 7. The Unwanted Proposal. The next day, I went to the office. I didn't see Vanessa's car downstairs, which put my mind somewhat at ease. Over the past 2 years, my parents had decided to enjoy their retirement and gradually handed the family business over to me. Between the wedding and the honeymoon, I had been away from the company for nearly a month. Fortunately, the highly paid secretary I had hired was extremely capable. By the time all the work reports reached me, they had already been organized and condensed into the simplest possible form. "Sir, you have a meeting this morning to discuss a potential partnership." My secretary handed me a file. After reviewing it, I got up and headed to the conference room. I arrived a little late, and the other party was already seated. "My apologies for—" My voice faltered. I hadn't expected the representative from the prospective partner company to be Vanessa. Vanessa's company specialized in cutting-edge technology, while my current project involved a personal care brand. The two industries had little to do with each other. As for why Vanessa had gone out of her way to get involved, I could more or less guess. Keeping my expression neutral, I took my seat. After both sides shook hands, the discussion began. Vanessa showed no unusual emotion. However, when we finalized the agreement, she voluntarily offered us more favorable terms. I accepted without hesitation. Whatever her motives were, only a fool would turn down easy money. After the meeting, I returned to my office. Not long afterward, my secretary knocked and came in. "Sir, a Ms. Vance would like to see you." I agreed. When Vanessa entered, I was chatting with Chloe. She had said she was going to cook dinner herself tonight and reminded me to come home on time. I replied with a sticker of a kitten hurrying home. "Ethan," Vanessa called my name. I put away my phone and gestured for her to sit on the sofa. She looked at me with a complicated expression. I broke the silence first. "Thank you for offering such favorable terms during the meeting." "There's no need to thank me. It's something I owed you from back then. When we broke up, I had wanted to cut all ties as quickly as possible, so I sold my shares to Vanessa for far less than they were worth. That instantly made her the company's largest shareholder. Even based on the company's valuation at the time, the concessions she had just made did not amount to even 1/10 of what I had lost. That was one reason I could accept her offer with a clear conscience. When I remained silent, Vanessa continued, "I was the one who wronged you back then. Do you still hate me?" I fell silent for a moment. To be honest, I had hated Vanessa with every fiber of my being back then. But now, when I thought about the past, I felt nothing at all. It was merely an unpleasant chapter in my life. There was no reason to keep dwelling on it and making myself miserable. I wouldn't say I hate you, but I don't want to see you again either. The moment I finished speaking, all the color drained from Vanessa's face. Her lips trembled. "I only want to make it up to you." I had never heard Vanessa speak in such a humble, almost pleading tone before. When we were together, I had always been the one at a disadvantage. To put it bluntly, I had been quite the simp. Once, Vanessa wanted to try a wildly popular jiggly cake from a shop near our university. I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning and stood in line just so she could eat it before her first class. But after 2 bites, she got tired of it, so I finished what she left behind. Later, when we started our business, my parents kicked me out because I refused to break up with Vanessa. They froze all my cards and even ordered my friends not to help me. Vanessa and I lived in a basement apartment. Every day, we ate plain noodles with 1 egg each. I had never endured that kind of hardship in my entire life. Yet instead of complaining, I had actually been happy. After our breakup, I got drunk and told Mark about it. He mocked me for being a hopelessly love-blind idiot, but I had never regretted loving her so deeply. In my view, when you love someone, you should give them everything without holding back. Unfortunately, I had simply given my love to the wrong person. I looked at Vanessa. I had no idea what had gotten into her. She had suddenly abandoned the man she claimed was her true love and decided she wanted her ex back. But I didn't care. I spoke calmly. "Then please stop appearing in front of me. After that, everything between us will be settled." Chapter 8. Drama at the banquet. The next time I saw Vanessa was at a birthday banquet half a month later. People usually attended events like this with their partners. Chloe happened to be free, so she came with me. Shortly after we entered and exchanged a few greetings, I caught sight of Vanessa from the corner of my eye. She had brought a man with her, but he wasn't Julian. He was very young and looked vaguely like some up-and-coming actor. I couldn't help feeling puzzled. Had Vanessa and Julian really broken up? Chloe noticed it too. She discreetly pinched my waist and whispered, "That man with Vanessa isn't Julian, is he?" I looked at her curiously. "You know what Julian looks like?" Chloe cleared her throat, looking slightly embarrassed. "I might have done a tiny bit of investigating before our wedding." Chloe widened her eyes, trying to make herself appear more assertive. "Even though you personally told me everything about you and Vanessa, you used to love her so much. Since we were going to get married, Of course, I had to investigate everything thoroughly to avoid any future misunderstandings. Her voice grew quieter as she spoke, until it became a mumble. She apparently felt a little ashamed of investigating someone behind their back. I didn't mind at all. In fact, I was delighted. The fact that Chloe had done that proved she had already cared about me before we got married. So it turned out our feelings had been mutual after all. I took her hand and kissed the back of it. It's fine. I'm actually pretty happy about it. Chloe was startled by my action. She glanced around nervously, but made no attempt to pull her hand away. Mrs. Vance, you and your wife certainly seem deeply in love. Hearing the voice, I turned around. To my surprise, it was the young actor who had come with Vanessa. Smiling brightly, he raised his glass to us. I heard the two of you are newlyweds. I wish you a lifetime of happiness. The moment he finished speaking, instead of anyone joining in, the people around us exchanged strange looks. Vanessa stood a short distance away, her expression unreadable. Many people in our social circle knew that Vanessa and I had once dated. Even the reason for our breakup was no secret, and with a little digging, anyone could find out why Vanessa had suddenly lost control and destroyed her own wedding not long ago. As a result, the drama between Vanessa and me had become the hottest gossip in the circle. Some claimed that Julian and I had each been her true love at different times. Others said Vanessa had never gotten over me. Some insisted that I had been Vanessa's real true love all along. There were even people saying Vanessa was now desperately chasing the ex she had cruelly discarded. Others were placing bets on whether I would abandon Chloe and rekindle my relationship with Vanessa. But everyone only joked about it in private. No one dared bring it up to my face. I couldn't tell whether this young actor was genuinely clueless or simply stupid. He had come as Vanessa's date, yet openly congratulated Chloe and me on our marriage. Wasn't that practically slapping Vanessa across the face? Everyone wore a different expression as they waited to see how I would respond. I remained silent. Vanessa showed no intention of rescuing him from the awkward situation either. The young actor finally realized something was wrong and looked nervous and confused. At that moment, Chloe reached out and accepted the glass. She smiled lightly. Thank you. Then she took a small sip. I have a director friend who's currently developing a TV adaptation of a popular novel. I think there's a supporting role that might suit you. You should audition for it. The young actor's face immediately lit up. Thank you, Mrs. Vance. Chloe then raised her glass toward everyone and smiled gracefully. Today isn't Ethan's and my event, so we shouldn't steal the birthday celebrant's spotlight. We'll host a separate banquet for everyone another day, and when that happens, no one will be allowed to leave without offering us a few blessings. Her response was both polite and playful. It instantly broke the stifling atmosphere. Everyone around us laughed and readily agreed. Only Vanessa's expression darkened considerably. The young actor walked over and excitedly said something to her, but she responded with an icy glare. He immediately looked bewildered and helpless. Chloe watched them leave and let out a cold snort. If she wanted to know whether our marriage was happy, she could have just asked. Using someone else as a pawn to test us. What a cheap trick. Then she pinched my waist again. This is all because of your crazy admirer. I flinched from the pain and protested innocently. What does this have to do with me? Chloe ignored me and turned away to chat with some acquaintances. Before leaving, she shot me a glare. Don't talk to me again until the banquet is over. Take that time to reflect on what you've done. I was speechless. Chapter 9, The Balcony Climax. After making the rounds and drinking with everyone, the alcohol began to hit me. I found a quiet balcony where I could take a break. Suddenly, the sound of an argument came from the room next door. My hand paused as I raised my cigarette. I recognized one of the voices as Vanessa's. The next second, the door behind me flew open. Vanessa strode out in her high heels, her expression dark. A man followed close behind her. I glanced at him and recognized Julian. I was somewhat surprised by how he looked now. I had met Julian back in college. At the time, he had been a handsome, refined young man, clean-cut, occasionally wearing glasses, gentle and easygoing with everyone. He had been exactly the type young women found irresistible. But the Julian standing before me now had gained quite a bit of weight and wore thick, black-framed glasses. Perhaps because he had come in a hurry, his clothes didn't fit him properly. His hair was messy and unkempt as well. Standing beside the glamorous Vanessa, he looked, to put it bluntly, like a toad beside a swan. The two of them had clearly been arguing fiercely. There was a distinct handprint on Julian's face. He cursed at her. Vanessa was about to fire back when she suddenly noticed me standing on the balcony. The words caught in her throat, and she stopped walking. Julian immediately caught up with her, his face twisted with rage. Vanessa, stop right there. You were the one who seduced me back then and ruined my relationship with my girlfriend. You promised you'd marry me. So what the hell do you mean by backing out now? And you think you can just pay me off? That pathetic amount of money wouldn't even satisfy a beggar. I'm telling you, you're marrying me whether you like it or not. Otherwise, you'll regret it. With every word he spoke, Vanessa's face grew paler. By the end, she looked ashen. She stared at me in panic, seemingly wanting to explain herself. I didn't look at her. I turned around and left the scene. Whatever Vanessa's reason for cheating had been, it had nothing to do with me anymore. Just as I was walking past them, Julian happened to catch sight of my face. He froze. The next second, he released Vanessa, lunged forward, and grabbed me by the collar. Ethan, I finally caught you. This is all your goddamn fault. I knew there had to be a reason that bitch Vanessa had been acting so strangely toward me lately. She barely cared about planning the wedding and spent every day distracted. So she was thinking about you. You sent one fake message saying you were dead, and Vanessa completely lost her mind. She destroyed the wedding venue and turned me into a laughingstock in front of my relatives, friends, and coworkers. Have you two been having an affair behind my back this whole time? Vanessa broke up with you because of me back then. You must have hated me for it, but let me tell you something. The only reason Vanessa ever dated you was because you did exactly what I once did. She was afraid of thunder, and you happened to be there. When she looked at you, all she saw was me. You actually thought she loved you. Julian roared in my face, his features twisted with fury and his eyes looking ready to burst from their sockets. He sprayed spit all over my face, making my stomach turn. Before I could do anything, however, someone slapped him hard across the face. Vanessa stood there with her hand raised, glaring at him furiously. Shut your mouth. You're not even worthy of being compared to Ethan. He suffered with me and helped me build my company from the ground up. All you ever do is ask me for money like a parasite. I've had enough of you. My refusal to marry you has nothing to do with Ethan. You're the one who disgusts me. Julian turned his head back toward her with a cold sneer. So I'm trash? Then what does that make you, when you were the one who crawled into my bed? Pathetic. And now I disgust you? You certainly sounded sweet enough back then, calling me Darling Jules every chance you got. Chapter 10. Cutting Ties. Julian's words struck Vanessa where it hurt most. Her expression turned unbearably ugly. I watched the two of them tear each other apart and nearly laughed. Just how much had Vanessa once loved Julian? Every year, she started preparing his birthday gift more than 2 weeks in advance. Whenever Julian got sick, she fussed over him like an overprotective mother. Whenever he argued with his girlfriend, Vanessa swallowed her own heartbreak and comforted the girl. She had even become fairly good friends with her and Julian. Despite already having a girlfriend, he shamelessly accepted everything another woman did for him. Then he dressed it up with the excuse that they were like brother and sister. His girlfriend and I had both been pathetic fools, too blind to notice the inappropriate intimacy and obvious chemistry between them. But now, I looked at the way Vanessa stared at Julian. It was exactly the same way she had looked at me when we broke up, disgusted, irritated, and cold. It turned out that once the person she had longed for finally became hers, he was nothing more than a faded old dream. Now, I was grateful Vanessa and I had broken up. She had always been selfish and cold-hearted. Vanessa noticed the look in my eyes and immediately panicked. She reached for my arm. Ethan, let me explain, it's not what you think. I immediately dodged her touch. The disgust on my face made her go deathly pale. There's no need to explain. I don't want to hear it. I'm not thinking anything. This is between the two of you and has nothing to do with me. I already told you that there's nothing left between us. Julian burst out laughing beside us. See that, Vanessa? You're throwing yourself at him, and he still doesn't want you. You're pathetic. You only want the men who don't want you. You were like that with me, and now you're doing the same thing with Ethan. What the hell is wrong with you? He doubled over, laughing like a madman. I had no interest in watching the farce any longer. I tugged my sleeve straight and turned to leave. Vanessa grabbed my hand, her eyes red. She pleaded, Ethan, I know I was wrong. I've been thinking about you for the past 3 years. I was just too proud to come looking for you. Please give me another chance. Don't leave me. I'm begging you. I truly can't live without you. As she spoke, she suddenly leaned in to kiss me. I reacted quickly and shoved her away. Vanessa, what the hell is wrong with you? After being harassed again and again, I had finally reached the limit of my patience. I wiped the spot she had touched with open disgust and snapped, then die. Vanessa froze in place, staring blankly at me. Tears slid from the corners of her eyes. With her beautiful face, she looked heartbreakingly pitiful, but I didn't even want to look at her. "Ethan, are you really that cruel?" I replied coldly. "You brought this on yourself." Chapter 11. A New Beginning. For a long time after that, I didn't see Vanessa again. Then Chloe found out she was pregnant. Both our families were overjoyed and practically treated her like royalty. My parents even canceled their travel plans and bought a house in our residential complex. They came over every day, unable to resist fussing over Chloe. "Ugh, my waist has already grown by 2 centimeters. Chloe sighed as she turned from side to side in front of the mirror. "Both sets of parents keep feeding me nonstop. Am I going to turn into a pig before the baby is even born?" Seeing how distressed she looked, I wrapped my arms around her shoulders from behind. "I'll hire a nutritionist tomorrow. That way, our parents won't have to worry about your health, and you'll have a good excuse to refuse all the extra food." "How does that sound?" Chloe's eyes lit up, and she nodded vigorously. I just breathed a sigh of relief when she pointed at a row of clothes nearby. None of my old clothes fit anymore. I need an entirely new wardrobe. Understanding what she was getting at, I smiled helplessly. I handed my card to the sales assistant, who happily hurried off to ring everything up. By the time we left the mall, it was already dark. We had spent the entire day shopping. My feet felt like they no longer belonged to me. Chloe, on the other hand, was still bursting with energy. Compared to her, I felt as though I were the pregnant one who needed looking after. My hands were full of shopping bags, and 2 sales assistants followed behind us carrying even more. "You could have just had the clothes delivered to the house. Why tire yourself out by coming here in person?" Chloe climbed into the passenger seat and huffed. "That wouldn't be any fun. The whole point is enjoying the shopping and choosing everything myself." I showed her the red marks the bags had left on my hands. "Right? You get to enjoy the shopping while I carry everything." Chloe arched an eyebrow. "You don't like it?" I immediately corrected my attitude. "Of course I do. It's an honor." Chloe finally looked satisfied. I fastened her seatbelt and started the car. The sky was dark and heavy, as though a storm was about to break. "It looks like it's going to rain. Let's hurry home." I glanced outside the car and suddenly froze. I wasn't sure whether my eyes were playing tricks on me, but I thought I saw Vanessa. Chloe noticed me staring into the distance. "What's wrong?" I looked away. "Nothing." Chapter 12. The Final Storm. Chloe was still exhausted after spending the entire day shopping. She didn't say anything, but the moment we got home, she collapsed face first onto the bed. I helped her take off her coat and said softly, "Get some rest. I'll wake you when it's time for dinner." "Okay," Chloe murmured. She soon closed her eyes and fell asleep. I shut the bedroom door and walked into the living room. Dark clouds blanketed the sky outside, as though they were about to crush the entire city beneath them. I walked to the window and looked down through the glass. Although I couldn't see anything clearly, I couldn't shake the feeling that Vanessa was somewhere below. She had probably seen Chloe and me shopping together today. A sudden chill ran through me. Had Vanessa been following me all this time? I wasn't afraid for myself, but I was afraid she might do something to Chloe. As far as I knew, Vanessa had never been an extreme or irrational person, but Chloe was pregnant now. She and our child were the 2 most precious people in my life. I couldn't afford to take any chances. After thinking it over, I called Vanessa. As expected, she answered almost immediately. I got straight to the point. "Vanessa, I saw you at the mall today." There was a long silence on the other end. She didn't deny it. I knew I had been right. A wave of anger surged through me, but I forced it back down. "Vanessa, don't do this again. Nothing you do will change the way things are, and stay away from Chloe. She means everything to me. If anything happens to her, I don't know what I might do. Do you understand?" There was still no response. Just as I was about to hang up, Vanessa's hoarse voice came through. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean any harm. I just wanted to see you." I lowered my voice. "But I don't want to see you. I have a new life now, and I'm happy. The best apology you can give me is to stay out of my life." Vanessa's breath caught. I heard her begin to cry, her voice choked with emotion. She was about to say something else when a bolt of lightning suddenly split the sky, turning the night white. A deafening crack of thunder followed. Even the floor-to-ceiling windows seemed to shake. A terrified scream came through the phone. Vanessa's voice trembled. "Ethan, Ethan, the thunder is so loud. I'm scared. I'm really scared. Can you come find me? Please save me." For a moment, I seemed to see the library from 10 years ago. Vanessa had been curled up alone in a corner back then, and I had rushed toward her without hesitation. But now, my expression remained completely indifferent. That has nothing to do with me. I turned toward the bedroom door. My wife is afraid of thunder too. I need to stay with her. Vanessa fell silent. I ended the call and walked into the bedroom. Chloe hadn't woken up, but in her sleep she had instinctively wrapped the blanket more tightly around herself. I walked over, lifted the covers, and climbed into bed. Chloe wrapped her arms around me, and the tension between her brows gradually eased. My phone vibrated once. A text message appeared on the screen from an unknown number. There were only 2 words. I'm sorry. Goodbye. Chapter 13. Closing the book. The next time I heard anything about Vanessa was 3 years later. I was reading a story to my daughter. She had inherited Chloe's looks. Her large round eyes made her especially adorable whenever she smiled. She reached for the book in my hands. When I refused to give it to her, she immediately looked as though she were about to cry. Helpless, I picked up a toy to distract her. Soon the 2 of us were playing together, and she giggled happily as I made her laugh. Chloe returned from outside, looking as though she wanted to say something but didn't know how. Noticing that something was wrong, I picked up our daughter and walked over to her. Chloe spoke with a complicated expression. Vanessa passed away. What? At first, the name didn't register. After a moment, I asked, what happened? Vanessa had moved abroad 3 years ago. Chloe sighed. Cancer. I heard she underwent treatment for a long time, but she had no will to live. In the end, even the doctors couldn't save her. Cancer. I remembered the message Chloe had sent all those years ago. I never expected her words to come true. The only difference was that I wasn't the one who had gotten cancer. No wonder Chloe looked like that. I kissed her cheek and said softly, It's okay, it wasn't your fault. Chloe nodded. I know. I just feel a little unsettled. I guess we really shouldn't say things like that carelessly. She patted her cheeks to pull herself together, then turned and headed into the kitchen. She said she had recently been experimenting with a new dish and wanted to make it for us. I continued playing with our daughter. Just then, the computer chimed as a new email appeared. I froze when I saw the sender's name. It was Vanessa. After hesitating for a moment, I deleted the email without opening it. Since there was nothing left between us, there was no reason to leave behind even the slightest lingering attachment. Chapter 14. Sunshine After the Rain. The smell of Chloe's latest culinary experiment. A surprisingly delicious garlic butter pasta filled the house as the sun set, casting a warm, golden glow across the dining room. Our daughter was currently sitting in her high chair, blissfully smearing sauce all over her cheeks while making joyful babbling noises. Chloe sat across from me, wiping her hands on her apron with a triumphant smile. See? I told you I could master dinner without setting off the smoke alarm this time. I never doubted you for a second. I laughed, leaning across the table to wipe a stray smudge of sauce off her cheek. She swatted my hand away playfully, though her eyes were soft and filled with affection. After dinner, we carried our sleepy daughter up to her room, tucking her in under her favorite star-patterned blanket. As I closed the nursery door gently, Chloe leaned against my shoulder, letting out a contented sigh. We walked out onto the balcony, looking out over the quiet, lit-up city. The cool evening breeze was peaceful, a stark contrast to the stormy nights of our past. I wrapped my arms around Chloe from behind, pulling her close against my chest. What are you thinking about? She asked softly, resting her head back against me. Just about how lucky I am, I said, kissing the top of her head. A few years ago, I thought my life was completely ruined, but looking at where we are now, I wouldn't trade a single second of this for anything. Chloe turned in my arms and smiled, her eyes sparkling under the moonlight. Good, because you're stuck with us forever, Ethan. The shadows of the past had finally faded away, replaced entirely by the light of the family we had built together. Standing there in the warmth of her embrace, I knew that my story finally had the exact happy ending it was always meant to have.